Hey, Sassy Stuff. I'm Emma here with Georgia, and today we're going to talk about our thoughts and feelings about the NFL draft. I absolutely adore the NFL draft. It is just 3 days of dreams coming true. You see grown men cry, you see mothers jumping up and down, so excited. I love the first round picks, but I love even more those seventh round picks because they've been waiting there day after day, hearing every other name being called, especially Mr. Irrelevant there at the end. And those moments are just so special to witness and to watch. I absolutely adore it. I love the fashions they wear. Matthew Golden was out there dressed in a suit, so it was really cool, and I just love it every single year. Plus, then you get football in April. So, how do you feel about the draft?
I love the draft. It's something I always sit down to watch to see what teams I'm going to be keeping an eye on. Just because when you're from Alabama, there is no NFL team there, and so you just cheer for wherever the Alabama boys go, which
Which is
used to
the
be
Eagles.
it used to be a lot easier because there are only like a few at certain, but now you got a lot of options. So now it's basically just who do I like better.
I like that, I like that, and
Yeah.
I have an NFL team, which is the Washington Commanders, and I got a little scared when the Giants picked Abdul Carter, in the 3rd pick of the draft because I was like, "Well, we gotta play them twice a year, and they're gonna try to hurt my Jaden Daniels," but we then picked Josh Conerly Jr., and in the Big Ten Championship, Oregon's offensive tackle, Josh Connolly, faced off against, Penn State's Abdul Carter, rendered him like he wasn't able to do anything in that game. So Carter is or Connerly is absolutely sensational. I think he is going to be great. He's going to protect Jaden Daniels, which is what we need to do. I'm looking for a Super Bowl now. They made me believe again.
I think they make you believe every year.
No, I haven't believed in 30 plus years. I haven't even been alive for 30 plus years. This
But you know you wouldn't have believed in 30 plus years.
no, I wouldn't have if I was here on this earth, never. But more importantly, I guess, I'm very excited for the Commanders, but more importantly, the SEC led all conferences in the total draft picks for the 19th consecutive season. They broke their own record with 79 SEC players drafted, breaking the previous record of 65. 15 out of 16 SEC teams had at least one player drafted. Mississippi State had none, but that is okay. We'll get them there next year. So this is just sensational. It was a big help with Texas and Oklahoma joining the draft. They really got us over the edge to break our own record. But this is great for the SEC once again being the most dominant in the NFL draft.
Yeah, and I don't think it looked that way. Like when you're actually watching and then you start, looking at the numbers, it does. I will say Ohio State killed that first round.
Mhm.
It was crazy. But our first SEC player to go was Will Campbell from LSU. He is an OT. I feel like a lot of the big boys went this year, and I like that. As SZA says, "Give me a big boy." So they were all singing, and you know, this draft was a little weird to me, but I liked it. I liked it a lot. There was a lot of stuff that I was like, "What?" But it is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, Shador Sanders falling was not what I was expecting, but I think after that first round, we were like, okay, either they think he is a backup quarterback or they're kind of punishing him for his attitude throughout the whole thing. They said he was not prepared in those meetings. He didn't do the combine. So that was wild. He did eventually get picked, I believe, in the 5th round. It was an interesting draft. Quarterbacks were not the hottest commodity, which it typically is. You need a quarterback, but most of these teams at this point had quarterbacks, and the quarterback class next year seems to be stronger at this moment in time. So it's like maybe build up your defense a little bit, build up that offensive line, and get your QB next year. So it was a different draft, but it was exciting.
I will say I think that Cam Ward is a great guy. I got called a glaze on the internet the other day because I said, "Oh, Cam Ward seems like a genuinely great guy," and someone said, "Holy glaze!" So I had to look that up because I gotta stay in touch with the lingo, and I guess it just means when you're like brown nosing someone. But like, what's wrong with me saying that he's a good good guy? That was my upstairs neighbor. So.
We love your upstairs neighbors. Noise complaint. I think that's fine. I think he seems, like, sweet and level-headed. He didn't have a great defense last year, so we'll see how he does, this year in the NFL, so it's exciting for him. Georgia, they had the most players in the SEC drafted, 13, Texas right behind them. This is the 2nd most under Kirby Smart. He had 15 in 2022. He actually had a player drafted in every round, which is nice. But Georgia obviously has just been dominant, since Kirby has taken over that program. So it makes sense that they had the most this year. I loved the moment when Jackson Dart was drafted. Shador was kind of getting passed on, and when the Giants traded to get back into that first round, I was like, "Oh, pick Jackson Dart here, pick Jackson," and then they did. And I was like, "All right, all right." And I thought it was wonderful. He received a congratulatory message from Eli Manning. This is gonna be a huge learning experience for him working under these veterans, so I'm excited for him. He was my favorite quarterback in the draft. I've loved watching him at Ole Miss, so I'm excited to see what he does at the Giants, see if he gets playing time at the Giants this year. Quinn Ewers also got drafted, by the Dolphins.
I will say that I was talking to Molly, who is our Texas girl. She's like, I can't believe Quinn Ewers hasn't been drafted yet. I've never been impressed with him. I'm just gonna be honest. He's never been on my radar. Yeah, he had a good season. Yeah,
He
what
didn't have a good season this year. He had a good season the year prior.
yeah, and I mean, he got to the playoffs this year, but, I've just never been impressed with him, and I don't know, he just doesn't wow me, and I think
Mhm.
that's it, like, yeah, he's a good football player, but he doesn't wow me, and I need to be wowed in
Yeah.
this stage of life, it's time to wow me.
He
Um,
also he should have done what Carson Beck did and just taken more money and stayed and developed for another year, see if he could, increase his draft stock. I know he'll have a great time at his team, and I love Mike McDaniel, I think he's a great coach, but, I feel like there was so much money on the table for this kid, he could have transferred to a plethora of programs, but I don't know. I don't know if this was the right move, especially in the day and age of unregulated NIL money, when you can literally get whatever you want if you've proven yourself. And for the past 2 years, he's gone to the playoffs. So he's proven himself, just like Carson Beck won an SEC championship. Carson Beck took his team to the playoffs. So these quarterbacks who have done incredible things that may not go in the first round, why not stay an extra year? Why not make more money? Because you're not gonna make that money in the NFL for a few years at best. So
yeah,
it's
I do
definitely an interesting.
Yeah. I do like what Terrion Arnold, who we know is just my favorite person ever. He said, and then this is a rough quote, that he knew, like, obviously he could get more money in the NIL, but the NFL is longevity.
Yeah,
And, so don't go for a short gain, go for a long gain. And that is a very rough translation of what he said. But basically,
not
like,
a direct quote.
not a direct quote. But basically, like, sure, it's money right now, but think of all the money you could get.
Yeah,
Um, so yeah, I also what was up with the prank calls?
that was horrible. I
Horrible.
This like, these again, this is things that these boys have been dreaming about since they were kids most of the time, even Shador, and his dad, yes, has inflated his ego incredibly, and he didn't prepare well, and he definitely slipped and slipped and slipped down that, line, but I was like, "You can't do that to somebody. This is one of the biggest moments of their life, something they have worked hard for." And yes, maybe he didn't prepare enough during his interviews. And yes, maybe his father has helped him a lot along the way, but this is still something that he loves.
Wouldn't you help your child too? That's the thing. Like, if I was Deion Sanders, my kid could suck at football, which Shador doesn't. He's great, and I would still make him quarterback because 'cause I'd be like, "That's my son." Like,
Let's talk about your favorite player, Jalen Milroe. He got drafted number 92 overall by the Seattle Seahawks. I think this is a great team for him where he can grow and develop. He described it as dreams coming true. When he visited Seattle, he felt strong support from the coaching staff. So, how do you feel about him going there?
I'm so happy for him. I really wanted him to be on my Alabama team, either the Eagles or the Lions, but I guess I will have to pick up some Seattle Seahawks gear, because I just oh my gosh, like, he's like another Cam Ward to me, like, his charisma, you just can't help but like this guy. And like Nick Saban said, like he's gonna add to this offense for the Seahawks, and I am so excited. So, so, so excited.
Well, speaking of Nick Saban, when he was clapping, you had the biggest smile on his face because that was his last QB. That was his QB1, and he felt a special bond with Jalen Milroe, and he left him behind to hold the program together after he retired from coaching. And so it was a special moment for him. A special moment for any of his players getting drafted that he still worked with, but that is the last QB1 he had. And so I thought that was so special. Seeing his face light up when Jalen Milroe got drafted.
It was amazing, and that was my reaction to it. I was like, like I smile so much for this kid that I have no idea. And it's so funny because I'm like the I'm like, tell me why I am encouraging these children. And they probably just think I'm creepy. They're probably like, who's this old lady in my DMs? But I'm like, God scat you. You'll end up right where you need to be, like a little grandma. But like they just feel like my little babies.
Oh.
And I'm so excited for him. And I liked what he said when they asked him what he has to say to the teams that passed on him. He said, belt to ass.
Well, that's the true thing. It's like anybody, especially like in those later rounds that passed on you, you're like, there's 31 other teams out there that made a mistake and prove
Mhm.
it. Like, let's see it. So I'm excited to see what he does. I'm excited to see him develop. I hope he develops a little bit more in that intermediate passing game. But when he runs and the field opens up for him, the world is his oyster. And he can
Long
do
balls.
Yep. Anything like that. His deep throws are great, and I just think he when he is great, he is fantastic, but he just has some
On
holes.
Yeah, yeah. I think mental is definitely one thing that him and Jackson Dart have to work on because
Mhm.
if they make a mistake, they just end up
And
making
viewers, honestly.
yeah, they end up making 5 more mistakes,
Yep.
and that's just something that coaches are gonna have to develop and work with them on, that you make a mistake and you pick your britches up off the ground and you move on. So, yeah, I'm excited to see. I am disappointed Tyler Booker went to the Cowboys.
Yeah, I'm not happy about that either as a Washington Commanders fan.
I just
Cowboy.
gosh, I mean, obviously, I'll cheer for him wherever he is, but yeah, that was a disappointing pick f in my I was like,
It's like, gosh, you had to go to the Cowboys.
"Dang, no, I did not want him to go to the Cowboys."
Mhm. And, I love these boys in their, interviews before the draft too, and they're like, "What are you gonna do with your rookie contracts?" And the vast majority of them are like, "I'm gonna get back to my parents." Like, they were there for me with my journey. Most of them were like, "I'm gonna give them a house. I'm gonna pay them back for everything they've done." And I just think that's so beautiful that, um, they're there with their families or they're at the watch parties with their families and their friends, their significant others, people who have helped them along the way because it's not easy, like, at all, especially in school. We always forget it's school, and they're learning, and so they're going to classes every day. Yes, do they have a little extra help? Of course they do. But they're going to classes every day, they're training, they're playing these games. It's not easy. They're battling injuries, especially in the SEC, which is just that much more physical across the board. I know in the Big Ten, they always claim like Ohio State and Michigan. I'm like, yeah, that's two teams right there. Penn State, we can throw you in as well. But it's not the gauntlet that the SEC is. And so these boys are battling each and every week to get to this moment. And now they just want to get back to their family and their friends. And I think that's beautiful. So, again, the draft makes dreams come true, and I love watching it.
Yeah, I get upset sometimes because I do feel like in another lifetime I was a 280, 6'4" right tackle. And I somehow ended up like this, but I was supposed to be a right tackle and it just didn't end up happening. I don't know why. Um, but I'm like, that should be me up there.
That should
Why
be
did
me
I get
there.
drafted?
I would be like a Will Riker kicker. I'm
That's what Molly
scared.
said. Yeah, Molly was like, "I'd be a kicker." I was like, "Cute, I'm a right tackle."
You're like, "Arr."
I mean, look, I got bloody knuckles right now from a heavyweight bag. Like, I just am aggressive.
Aggressive. You'd be scared of Georgia.
Yeah,
Georgia
but
on the
not
line.
the team. Georgia playing for Alabama.
Yes, yes.
Okay, guys, thanks so much for watching. Let us know who your favorite pick of the night was, and what do you guys think of all these prank calls? Because we don't like them. But yeah, thanks for joining this locker room talk, and we'll see you next time.